In this video, I'm going to discuss a phishing attack that I received a few months ago and doing a quick analysis of it and discussing what you can do to detect and mitigate these kind of phishing attacks. So to give you a little background, I was dealing with this organization and I was dealing with the person who sent me the email, and I was actually expecting something like an email like this, just within the context of what I was dealing with this person with. When I got this email, I did not know whether or not this was a phishing attack, or if this was a legitimate document. Just because, again, what I was dealing with the person, this sort of was expected at some point in time. Did blur things out just for sort of privacy sake for the person that it happened to, but I'll walk you through what it looked like, what the tactic. So I have on my end a sandbox that I use for phishing analysis. So with this email here, one of the things that I noticed right away is that it came from Microsoft 365. If you have an item on your OneDrive account and you share it out with someone externally, you can have Microsoft itself send the actual email notifying the recipient and, hey, somebody shared something with you and here's a link to click on it. One of the options also you can check is to require authentication. So don't make this link public. When the person receives it, they have to log into their Microsoft 365 account or get like another email with a code and force them into validating that they are the recipient and they can get access to the email. And that is a legitimate process for getting access to it. So I didn't know if this was legitimate or not. So I took precaution, loaded it in a safe environment just because I wasn't sure in this particular scenario. So number one, I said I validated it's from Microsoft 365, and I went to sort of open it, and it did make me log in with Microsoft 365 to get access to the document itself. Again, going through a normal Microsoft authentication flow to get access to it. This is what it looked like. You see here on the top, it's my.sharepoint.com, and then you see the /personal, and this sort of, again, is part of the authentication flow where you can see someone had something on their personal OneDrive, and they had shared their document with me. Now, when I put my email address in, number one, it had to be the email address that received the email, and then it sent me a link. It sent me uh, it made me actually authenticate. I don't remember if it made me send me another email with a code, but it made me authenticate with my Microsoft 365 account to get to the next step. And this is what I got to when I actually got into to see it. And I immediately recognized that, hey, this is actually a phishing attack. What happened was an attacker had compromised this Microsoft 365 account and had put I see this PDF on the compromised user's account and shared that PDF with the person who was compromised contact list. And I'm pretty sure they used some automation to sort of scrape all the email addresses that the person had communication with and just bulk send that out to people, because people who receive it, the assumption is that they have been dealing with this person before. So someone is more likely to click the link and fall for a phishing attack because it came from someone they know and trust. And again, this is the kind of person that sent it, is the type of person that potentially would send that email, the one that I received. So I sort of going through this attack here. You see that it tells you that somebody completed, look at this completed document, and that link, click here to preview document, takes you to another site. So what makes this attack more tricky to detect and mitigate is because the email that comes to Microsoft 365, and organizations aren't going to block that kind of email, and it requires authentication to get to, so spam filters can't even get this far into the actual link, and it sort of puts that stop on spam filters and bots from scanning this kind of thing. And then they'll typically have another, like an initial landing page like you see here, and sometimes it'll be a couple domains later where it actually turns malicious. So let's go to the next document here. You see that redirected to an external site, this JIMDOSI site.com, and again, this is another hop. You see, this is another way it's trying to get you to click another link and go to another place. A lot of times they'll use legitimate platforms to host these landing pages, like free sort of landing sites, or they'll use like Wix or some popular like website hosting site, to where people aren't going to block those so quickly because there's a lot of legitimate traffic as well. So this was again, so far on Microsoft site. We get down to this site trying to get us to click a link, and then clicking on that link, it takes us to here. Now, one thing to notice is that it's a .ru, so it's hosted in Russia, and what they have here is a Cloudflare front end to prevent bots from getting to the next page, which is likely malicious. And this will make a user, go through a captcha, or Cloudflare has their own sort of magic under the hood to stop bots and, essentially non-humans to get to the next page. So this also helps stop bot activity, but also on a security side, it can be more challenging for spam filters to get past this and scan the next link. So, going through the CAPTCHA takes us to the actual phishing site. So this is a Microsoft 365 lookalike phishing site. And this, I mentioned this in the past video, you can see some of the videos I posted on it. This is what's called an adversary in the middle attack, where the traffic, the sign-in page that you're seeing when you put your credentials in, they're in real time proxying that data to Microsoft 365. So if you put your email address in, your password in, even if you have multi-factor authentication, they'll broker that on the site itself to allow you to authenticate and sign into your Microsoft 365 account. Once you authenticate, Microsoft will provide back a session token, and they'll get a copy of it. And just with that token alone, they can get into they can get an uncompromised Microsoft 365 account. There's two different types: direct proxy and indirect proxy. Attackers have been favoring more indirect proxies a lot more recently. That's just a whole other video I can put out with explaining direct proxy versus indirect proxy and why they're doing that. But it's something that I see they're doing, and so in this attack, it's pretty clear when you see an email come from this. It's usually an indication of how the user themselves who sent it got compromised. So I immediately at this point gave the user a call and said, "Hey, reach out to your IT and security team to get your account under control," and more importantly, focusing on containment and preventing other people from getting compromised. That PDF that they were hosting, you got to take it down as quick as possible, because people who receive the email, if this page is down, it could potentially stop more people who click the email later on that day from being able to go through this sort of authentication process and getting to the landing page. So I put very strong, emphasis, take that PDF down as quick as possible to sort of break this attack from occurring to other people. So thankfully, they got that under control pretty quickly and shut their account down. But just to show you here, it's really something that's really common with email compromises is they're most successful when they come from someone that you know and trust. And that's sort of how it's they're so effective, is they'll bounce from person to person. So never say that, oh, what do I have to lose? I don't have any data. I don't have any financial. I don't deal with finances. What's the biggest deal if I get compromised? A lot of times attackers don't necessarily care about you, but they'll use you as a stepping stone to get to all your contacts. And then what if some of your contacts, loses a very high amount of money? You sort of had to play in, letting the attackers bounce off of you. And, on our end, sort of the defenders, we want to stop, anyone from getting compromised, even if they don't have anything. So big thing is, be suspicious when you get emails. Even if you're expecting something, always have that in the back of your head. Maybe it's not legitimate. If anything seems out of place, definitely you should stop what you're doing. Getting balance between different sites like this should be concerning. Always look at the domain that you're on. Whenever you see something as a .ru, it should always make you pretty suspicious if you don't expect that. Especially when you look at any login pages, always look at the domain you're on. Never look visually at what you're seeing. The domain isn't something that you can spoof. So just a couple things here, like I mentioned. Be careful with emails. Look at the domains you're on. And yeah, thanks for watching, and have a great day.